All right, welcome. We are OOP3200, Object-Oriented Programming 2 at Durham College, and it's week 1, course orientation and OOP overview. And my name is Tom. I'll be your instructor this semester. I'm not the famous Tom that you're probably used to here, Tom McDonald, but he's awesome, and he's provided a lot of the material for this course that I'm going to be going over with you. So again, I've been teaching since 2011, backgrounds in software engineering and game development, and I got lots of videos on YouTube, lots of playlists for different technologies that I work with on a regular basis. So today we're going to be, this is kind of our outline. We're going to be going through textbooks, our outline and evaluation scheme, and one of the activities I want to go through with you is partnering for labs. I've created, and you don't have to wait for me, I've created 15 self sign up groups up on DC Connect. So please go up on DC Connect now. If you know somebody you want to work with, please sign up for a group now. And if you don't, I'll go through it with you kind of before we break from the video. I'm also going to do a brief C++ review and provide some coding examples, as well as connect to Git and GitHub. You may or may not know about Git and GitHub, and I'll ask you about that as we get closer. Okay, so that's kind of our plan for today. And for the week, we'll talk about what's going to happen. All right, so textbooks. You should already have your Bronson G first book of C++, 4th edition. That is the book that you use for OOP, if I'm not wrong, 2200. From what Tom was saying before. And this might be a new book for you, which is Ivor Horton's Beginning Java. He's a famous guy, Ivor Horton, apparently, for Java programming. Because this course, my friends, is kind of a course on both C++, object-oriented programming, and Java in the second half. A little bit of a schizophrenic course. And what I mean by that is, you've got two type of technologies that we're talking about. We're going to finish off the stuff that you need to know for OOP and C++, and then start you kind of a primer, give you a primer on what Java is and how to use it, which means there are going to be two different tools we're going to be using for this course. Primarily Visual Studio 2019 is what I'm going to be using for C++, and you should already have that. If you have Visual Studio 2017 for whatever reason, please download Visual Studio 2019 and install it so that we can be on the same page. Again, it won't be a big deal. You can always translate from Visual Studio 2019 to 2017 and so on, but it might make it easier for you and you can follow along a lot easier. And then in the second half, we'll be using another tool. It'll be IntelliJ IDEA is the tool that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be posting the links as we get closer. I don't recommend you download anything now. You don't need to, because we won't be touching Java for at least 6 more weeks. So, you got lots of time to download the tool, and I'll go over the download and installation instructions for you as we get closer. Okay, so that there's two different tools we're going to use. Okay, unfortunately, we can't use Visual Studio for Java. Well, we can. Sorry, I have to restate that. It's more like it's just not great for it. Okay, Visual Studio is great for a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I think one of the challenges they've always had over the last little while is Java. And why? Because Visual Studio's Java or Microsoft's Java is C#, right? So I think that's part of the reason. Now they do have support. You can always download additional extensions and so on for Visual Studio. Or even Visual Studio Code if you're into that. But I don't recommend it. I think the better tool is going to be IntelliJ IDEA, which I'm going to talk about as we get closer to the second half of the course. So what does this course look like? We're sitting at week 1 right now, and we're kind of doing course orientation, like I said. A bit of an object-oriented programming overview. We're going to talk about what that is. And then we're going to do partnering for labs. Notice that there's no evaluation this week at all. Right, so there's this whole week we're not going to actually do a in-class exercise officially or have anything like an assignment or something like that. However, starting next week, and if you notice, every single week, by the way, this PowerPoint is up on DC Connect. Every single week after this week, there's going to be one or more evaluations that are going to be due. Okay, so We're going to have a series of them, but let's take a look at what we're doing. So next week, we're going to start off with a review of classes and objects in C++. And then followed by the week after class operators and data type conversion, which is pretty key. Inheritance and polymorphism in week 4. Collections, you should already know a little bit about arrays as an example, but we're going to go into more other kinds of collections in week 5. Generics, so method templates and class templates. I think this is kind of one of the most confusing topics for students when they first learn C++. That's going to be week 6, and followed by C++, the STL, the standard template library, in week 7. Notice that there isn't an exam or a test, a final test or midterm test in this course. What we're going to have instead is a series of quizzes and assignments and in-class exercises that are going to make up the bulk of your evaluations. So I'll get to that in a bit, but you can notice that there's something that says, if it says C++ assignment 1, that is a partnered assignment, and it's a partner assignment for 2 people. Okay, so if you don't have if you don't know somebody, as an example, we're going to try and fix that today. I'm going to partner you up. Worst case scenario, if you don't know the person, I'm just going to put you together after this. And so you'll have at least one person that you can work with. I don't believe there's uneven numbers of people, so that you should have at least somebody to work with, for each of these assignments. Okay. Is there an option for you to work on your own? The answer is going to be no. I'd like you to partner with somebody else. And there's a reason for this. Part of it is the idea of peer programming, and I'll talk about how to do that while we're remote, in this remotely connected world at this point. We'll talk about that. There are some tools we can use to partner and program together. You may know about them already, but if you don't, that's okay. That's what we're going to be going over today, and how to do that kind of stuff. Okay. All right, so that's the first half of semester, and that's going to take us right into reading week, which is just after week 7. So, by the way, I think week 6 is where we have our Thanksgiving. So just to let you guys know that, for people who are not familiar, Thanksgiving is going to fall on, I believe, the Monday of the 12th, if I'm not wrong, on week 6. So that's going to be, it might interrupt some of you if you have classes on Mondays, just letting you know. It's coming up in about 5 weeks from now. All right, second half. This is where it gets a little bit funky, because we're going to get into Java. So we're going to do some installation. My thoughts are probably, let's step back a little bit, probably around week 7, just before we go on into reading week, I will assign the setup and installation kind of components. I'll talk about what you need to do to have ready. It is, Nicholas, it is very similar to C#. And if you've done C#, Java is very similar. Actually, if anything, C# is Microsoft's answer to Java. So, I think that's how I look at it anyway. So it's very similar, but there are some nuances that you'll need to go into, and that's all we're going to be covering. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, if you've programmed in another language before, then a lot of the stuff that you're going to get in Java is going to be very similar. We're going to kind of get into, if you notice Java here, right into object-oriented programming pretty much immediately, which means that we're going to do a setup, a Java environment setup, and everything else, and some nuances of the Java language, starting on, again, November 4th. That's when it's going to happen. Notice I put the dates here as well for your reference, because these are the dates that I'm physically going to be meeting with you, again, synchronously. And we'll talk about, there's going to be 2 parts to this, the way we're going to do this course, the way I'm going to do it with you. One part is synchronous, which is going to be this part. So every Wednesday we're going to get together, and I'm going to see you. We're going to go over the lecture component of the course for the most part. If there's something that's left over, for example, if there's an in-class exercise that I want to go over with you, that's going to be done recorded-wise. You're going to see the recording, and that's for you to do on your own. All right, so there's going to be something that you're going to be having to do, and I'll record that, and then you'll have the Friday to kind of take that time and do it, and we'll talk about that in a second. So there's going to be two parts, right? Instead of me doing, two synchronous, kind of broadcasts, I think I'll do one synchronous broadcast and I'll do an asynchronous broadcast where I kind of, save everything on YouTube for you. I'll make myself available, of course, throughout the entire week if you need me. But for the most part, we'll just meet together. That's why I've only given you a link on Zoom on Wednesdays and not on Fridays. Fridays will be office hours. So if you need to meet with me one-on-one, if you need me to help you with a problem, if I need to meet with a small group or a couple of groups where there's some issues or whatever, I'll do that. And I think that's a better use of our time than me getting together with everybody and waiting for you to do your in-class assignment. It doesn't make any sense. There's got to be some time for you guys to do your stuff, and that's without me intruding. Okay, but I'm going to help you, and I think I'm going to provide this kind of guided example of what I want you to do, and that's going to be through the video. So the video will be that I'm going to produce for Fridays as an example, and we'll talk about the structure in a second, is going to be a video that is going to tell you what to do for your assignments and for your in-class exercises. So it'll say, hey, do this, or whatever the exercise is going to be. The exercises are going to be very simple. It's literally going to be you follow along in class, you hand it in on Friday, you get a mark. That's what it is. Okay, so if you do your homework, and your homework is actually following along with the exercises that I go through with you in class, then it shouldn't be too terribly difficult. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's the way it's gonna be. I want to make it easy for you guys to understand, but I also want to make it so something that you're going to learn from as we go. So we're going to do a bit of a code along again throughout the Wednesday sessions. I'm not really heavy on theory. I don't enjoy watching PowerPoints, and I don't think you guys do either. But if I do the PowerPoint, it's going to be in that recorded class time on Fridays. So you can watch your PowerPoint on your own, zoom through it, watch it twice the speed, whatever. But I don't want to focus too much on that on the Wednesdays when we get together. So this is the second half. So the second half is loaded with Java, and it continues on the next page where we have overloading in Java. Very similar things that we would have talked about in C++ and maybe even in C#. You should have all this. But one thing to note is the different evaluations. So notice that there's in-class exercise, C++ assignment 1, and then that starts next week. And then as we go, there's another one. There's another kind of evaluation, which is a quiz. And this is usually a true-false multiple choice type quiz. It's worth 5% of your grade. So how am I going to handle these quizzes? Because again, normally quizzes in a regular semester would be, hey, we get together and then you do the quiz. You have a timed quiz. I have to be there watching you to make sure you're not cheating and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So there is no way I can, I'm going to monitor you. I'm not going to put you in some kind of cage to do the quiz. In fact, what I'll probably do is let's suppose there's 10 questions to the quiz or something like that, or 20 questions, I'll give you 20 minutes. That's what I'll do. And I'll probably give you 2 attempts, and I'll probably give you the entire week to do the quiz. That's how it's going to be. So I'm probably going to give you the quiz on a Monday. I'll produce it on a Monday for you. And then you'll have the Friday until the same week on the Friday to complete the quiz. Okay, that's how it'll be. And you can do it at any time on your own time. Now, here's the thing with the quizzes. There will not be any extensions. So don't say, Tom, I forgot to do the quiz number 1 and it's Saturday. Can you please open it up for me again? No. You'll have from the Monday to the Friday to get it done. And then, it'll be based on the material that we covered in class and some of the in-class exercise and the assignment that I've given you, which is, for example, if I give you the quiz in week 3, it's going to cover week 1, 2, and maybe parts of week 3. Okay, that's how it's going to be. So really simple. Again, it's not something that I'm going to make you stress about. It's going to be based on theory mostly. There might be some programming type questions where you might be asked to answer a question on, fill in the blank or something like that. The questions will be randomized. So every time you do the quiz, there'll be slightly different versions of the quiz, but you'll be given 2 attempts, so that way you have a good chance to do well. Okay, so that's the idea behind the quizzes. There's 2 of those, and they're each worth 5%, so please don't take them lightly. There's one on week 3, which is 2 short weeks from now, and there's one on week 7 for the first half of semester. which is where typically we have a midterm test or something like that. Okay, so that's where the second quiz is going to be. And again, it's going to cover, obviously the second quiz is going to cover more material than the first quiz. It's going to cover, weeks 7, 6, 5, 4, where the first quiz is going to cover weeks 3, 2, and 1. Okay, again, you'll have until the end of the week and the whole week to do it, and 2 attempts. All right, so that is individual stuff. Quizzes and in-class exercises, these ones are individual. But then the C++ and Java assignments, notice there's the first assignment that you're going to get next week, and then you're going to get an assignment pretty much every week after that. Those are pair programming assignments, okay? And your pair programming assignments are with a partner, okay? So that's the kind of stuff that you're going to put together, and it's going to be a little bit longer than an in-class exercise, where you're going to be given several tasks, and you and your partner are going to kind of produce the assignment every week. All right, so that's kind of the structure. It'll be the same thing. Instead of a C++ assignment, you'll be given Java assignments as well, which will be totally different. So the second half is almost like a second module, if you will, where the first half you've done C++, and the second half you've done everything is Java. So I'm not going to tell you to forget everything from C++, but you don't have to worry about C++ in the second half at all. It'll be all Java. All right. So an overview of the evaluations. Again, in-class exercise, you'll get the, we'll take the best 10 out of 12 that are going to be offered to you. Each one individual is going to be worth 2% each for a total weighting of 20. You'll have 2 types of assignments, C++ assignments as well as Java assignments. Each assignment is going to be worth 6% each. Again, nothing to laugh at. That's pretty weighty. In terms of what you're going to be doing. There's 5 of them, 5 practical assignments for you and a partner. Notice it says pairs here. And those two pieces are worth 60. So 60% for assignments, 20% for in-class exercises, and then you got 20% for quizzes. So the quizzes aren't crazy weight, altogether. But I mean, each one is worth 5, so it can influence your GPA if you're not careful. And I always find that quizzes, especially true, false, multiple choice type stuff, are the hardest to complete because, especially true, false questions, because if you get one wrong, it can really influence your overall mark. That's why I'm giving you 2 attempts. Okay, so no final. Yeah, no final at all, because it kind of equates. This is how this class has been created. And this is Tom McDonald's way of doing things, and I'm totally fine with it. It just means that there's going to be something that you're going to do pretty much every single week that we're together, other than this week where there's no evaluation. Every other week there'll be an evaluation about something else, something that you're going to do, and sometimes more than one evaluation. So again, going back, you can see that a busy week might be week 3, where you have an in-class exercise that you're going to do, an assignment, and a quiz all together. Right? So that's a lot of work, and that's why it's weighted 13%. Week 3 is a critical week. It can influence your entire semester. And same thing with week 7. Week 7 is also one of those weeks you have a few exercises, a few different things, all at the same week. And then in the second half, it's not as bad. It's not as loaded like that. Week 10, you have a couple. Week 11, you have a couple. Week 12, and so on. And getting into week 14, obviously, is a critical week because that would have been your final test, but now you're going to have 3 little things to do. All right, so that is your kind of topical outline and your overview of your evaluations. And there's going to be something else I'm going to add this semester, and this is because of our interconnected world, the way we are right now, remote teaching and all that stuff. And from an academic integrity perspective, I need to know it's you. So how are we going to handle that? When you're doing your assignment videos, and only for your assignments, that means your pair programming assignments, I would like you to put together a video, and each assignment is going to have that information. So what are these videos, and why am I making you do them? Do I want to make you suffer? Hell no, I don't want to make you suffer at all in any way. But what these are going to be the following. You are going to do a screen capture and basically a voiceover of your screen. That's what you're going to be doing, you and your partner. Now, it's going to be tricky on how you're going to do this because you guys are separated. But it's not that difficult to put together a video to to smash together a video. It's not that difficult. Even if I have video part 1 and part 2 that you submit, that's perfectly fine. Where one person talks about the first half and the second person talks in the second half. I'm personally fine with that. So the way it's going to be is these videos are going to be mandatory. That means when you submit an assignment and you're going to be doing these videos at the end, I don't expect you to be a videographer or anything like that, but you're going to do a lot of little short videos, right? So why? Because what you're going to be producing is the following. So the first slide, you're going to make a PowerPoint slide or a Google slide, and you're going to have an image of you and an image of your partner, your names, your student ID, the course code, the course name, and your assignment information. What are you doing for this assignment? Okay, like for example, C++ assignment number 1 would be something. And each group member will be required to present something. All right, so for example, maybe one group member, let's say I'm working with Nicholas, because I see Nicholas on the screen here. Sorry, Nick. Let's say you and I are working together and you and I are partners. Then let's say Nicholas opens up. He says, "Hi, my name is Nick and this is Tom, and we're working on this C++ assignment number 1. Here's the course code, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to start off by demonstrating our application. Here's how it works. You go through the application's functionality, and then I'll take over and I'll say, okay, thanks, Nick. And here's the code that we use. This is what this code does as described in class. This is the code and it's how it works. This is why we chose to do this, and blah, blah, blah. The whole thing should not take more than 5 minutes together. Like, it's not going to be a long video. I don't expect it to be professional in any way. I don't need you to have, first of all, you're not recording your face. Okay, I don't need you to record your face, or I don't want you to use a phone for this. It's got to be, you got to use some kind of streaming capture software. There's a free one that I'm going to recommend in a second called OBS. But basically what you're going to be doing is just capturing your results, right? So here's my application. Here's my my code. This is how the code works at a very high level, guys. I don't expect you guys to be super complex about it. Yeah, the PowerPoint slide, I don't expect you to give me the PowerPoint slide at all. It's just one PowerPoint slide, Nick. So it's just going to be like, there's just one slide that's a title slide. That's it. And the rest is just you demonstrating with Visual Studio, and that's it. Okay, so nothing that's too crazy, guys. Okay, again. And when you get together, don't panic. This is not for you to panic. If you're not a native speaker, so if you're not, if you're somewhere else and English is not your first language, go slow. Okay, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to rush through it or whatever. But my expectation is that you should be able to speak to your code. You should be able to speak to your application. And this is great practice from you from an essential skills perspective. I think from a business perspective, you'll be able to talk about code. And when you talk about code, you get better at it, in my opinion. You're better at understanding it, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what the purpose of the video is. It's not to make you crazy or to put you on edge or to give you anxiety. It's none of that. Okay, it's really just to say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's my code. This is how it worked. Thank you very much. And that's it, right? So that's what the video is going to be. Now, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to upload 300 megabytes of video, as an example, and uploading that to DC Connect. No. You can use, and I'll answer your question in a second, Nick. I'd like you to put it either on YouTube or Twitch or whatever your your favorite streaming service is. Now, you can make the YouTube video unlisted, okay? If you make it unlisted, no one can see that video except for people you share the link with. All right, so you don't need to, as an example, make it public. You don't need to do it public like how I'm doing it right now. I'm public, so anyone can watch, the stream that I'm going in with right now. Like if you were going to go up and you give the stream link to a friend who's not even in the course, they could watch the stream, right? That's not what I'm asking for you to do. I'm asking for you to do an unlisted video. If you make it private, the risk is, and if you don't give me the password, I can't review the video, right? And guys, remember, I'm going to be marking this on a regular basis. So, make it easy for me, right? So make it unlisted. I'm going to just be able to click the video, download it, check to see that the video works. If the video doesn't work, guys, I will not mark your assignments. Okay, it's from an academic integrity perspective. I want you to make sure that it's you. Okay, so this is why I need to hear your voice and see your demo every single week. Okay, the other thing is, Nick was saying, is this like explaining something? Yeah, it's like an oral exam in many ways, right? So think about this. It's almost like I'm in front of you and I hover over your shoulder. I'm looking at your code and I say, you know, so let's suppose I'm talking to someone, Jackie. I'm looking at Jackie on the list here. Hi, Jackie. So Jackie, tell me how how this code works. And Jackie will go through and go, okay, Tom, here's how it works. Here's my code. This is how it's kind of similar to that, right? So, but I don't have Jackie and Nicholas and some of the other people that I see here in the list at all, as an example, because we're remote, right? We're running remotely, and this is totally fine. But it's the idea that this is kind of an oral review, okay? So that's what I would like you to do. I'd like you to, to kind of put up this video, and it's going to be clearly written inside the assignment instructions, how it's going to be done, how you submit it, all that stuff, and how many points. By the way, out of 100% for each of the assignments, so let's say an assignment is worth 100 points. This video will at least be worth 10 points. That means there's going to be some weight to it, okay? And a couple things I'm going to be looking for from you is clarity. So can I hear you? Make sure when you hand in your video that I can hear you, right? And the second thing is, can I see your screen? If your screen is like hazy and I can't see what I'm looking at, or your screen, that'll be bad too. I need to see your screen and I need to hear you clearly, okay? Those are the two things that I'm really looking for. So make sure that I can do those two things. And it might take a couple of takes for you to do the first one. You might get, a little bit rocky in the beginning. Again, I don't expect anything like video production, no animations, no music in the background. I don't expect to see your face, like as in, I don't need you to have a floating head to explain stuff like I have here in YouTube. None of that. It's literally just you recording your screen and talking over what you're doing. Okay. All right. So, and that's good. I'm glad that Nick is saying just here in the chat that the other teacher, there's a teacher that he had that. By the way, I'm just repeating this, Nick, so people who are who are just watching the video, but are not watching this synchronously, can go back and see that, right? So, so the programming teacher he had, and when we were actually physically in person, did the same thing. He would go kind of looking over his shoulder and say, "Hey, tell me what you did here," right? And I think this is a great thing for you guys. I know that you guys may not think it's great because you're making a video of yourself in some ways. But it's a great thing because, you're going to be able to explain to me, and it's going to go through your brain a couple of times, the ideas, the concepts behind the code, and you're just going to be that much better. Believe me. In the beginning, it'll be rocky. It'll be like, this code, try and think of what to talk about. But then, afterwards, it's going to be easier. You're going to get into a flow because you're going to do this a lot. In fact, this course that I'm doing with you, and I'm not just doing this course, I'm doing other courses this semester at different institutions, one of them at Ontario Tech. This course, you're going to have a chance to do more videos on average because of the number of pair assignments that you have compared to anybody else. That means you're going to be talking about code, which is a really important thing to do, because if you talk about code and if you read code, you're just going to get better at it, right? Because people always ask me, Tom, how do I get better at coding? And the answer is code, right? So, and Daniel says my high school teacher did this too, and I think it's a good practice. Okay, it's not something that is outside the realm of what we've always done. Let me talk about the course structure a little bit. So again, I should say Wednesdays. I don't know why it said because it's Wednesday today. See what happens this short week? It messed me up. I'll update the slide. We'll meet on Wednesdays synchronously. and that means that I'll do a Zoom session on Wednesdays, right? And when we meet on Wednesdays, I'll do this. I'll kind of meet with you. I'll ask you questions. I'll show you something or whatever. But we'll use Fridays as office hours, okay, by appointment only. So I'm not going to randomly come on Friday and wait around on a Zoom session for 2 hours for you guys to have issues. That doesn't make any sense. I prefer if we just meet If you need to meet with me, I'll make appointments throughout the day on Friday. It won't be necessarily in our slot, our time slot. It'll be whenever we can set up a time together on Friday, that we can meet. I can also meet other days. So let's say, for example, I might have some space on a Thursday or something like that, and you want to meet with me on a Thursday or on a Monday. It's okay. But I'm going to be spreading myself out and making myself available to you throughout the entire week, so that way we can go through some of the assignment requirements, details, any kind of question you have, maybe on a quiz or something else. I think that's a better use of our time than for me to watch you guys do something on a Friday. It doesn't make any sense. So that's just me. So lab instructions will be pre-recorded. So let's say, for example, I'll have a lab assignment that you and your partner will have to do. I will produce the PDF for you, update it with all the details. So here's where the breakdown of marks are going to happen. And then I will record the assignment details up on YouTube, and I'll post it inside of our week content area. All right, so every week you're going to see a little posting of another video, and it'll be lab assignment requirements video. And then you go in there, you'll watch the video. There might be other videos in there to help you out as well. And maybe I might even give you some video resources. For example, LinkedIn Learning a lot of times can accelerate some of the things we do. There's going to be some things we cannot cover in C++ and in Java, as an example, in the short time we have together. And Kaif Khan says, can we get a hold of you in weekends? Absolutely. I'm going to be available for most times throughout the week, 7 days a week. However, please, if you send me a message on Friday night at 9 o'clock at night, don't expect me to answer you at 10. All right. There are limits to how much availability I have. I actually do have a family and a life. So, I'm going to try and make myself as available to you as possible. Also, if you are a Discord user, I use Discord. So I'm up on Discord. I can share that with you guys after we stop recording. I can put that in the chat if you want to connect with me. And I'm certainly happy to connect with you on Discord. And, we can text chat back and forth. I can have one-on-one meetings on Discord and a bunch of stuff. Okay, so if you have Discord, by the way, just as a matter of to show if you have Discord, if you do, okay, on your participants tab, please use a check mark to say that you do have Discord, and an X if you don't, and if you don't know what it means. All right, just put it up there so I can see. That's good. There's a large amount of a lot of you have Discord. I think some people don't. And that's okay. You can all get on Discord. Worst case scenario, what we could do, and this is something, if you're interested, we can do that. I can set that up later today, is I can put up a little server for us. Thank you for that, guys. I'm just going to clear that. I can put up a little server for us where we can have a discussion, a class discussion on Discord. And then you can come up and, shoot messages back and forth. So the conversation can continue outside of our Zoom sessions. I would like that we have that kind of stuff. But again, I don't know if everyone's on Discord or if people are against it, or whatever. By the way, on Discord, I used to use Slack a lot, and because Slack was the business tool of choice at the time. But then after a lot of time working with students, they're like, "Professor, can you please be on Discord?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And now, of course, when you play games, you're on Discord. When you're recording stuff, hell, I could even record a whole Zoom equivalent session on Discord, and it'd be pretty good. The quality's not so bad anymore at all compared to what it used to be, because people stream games, they do all kinds of stuff on there too. But I think it's a great tool, and the great thing about Discord is, and I'm going to talk about the links for that if you don't have it. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go to Discord right now for people who are not signed up, because I see some people indicated that they're not signed up for Discord. Please sign up now. If we're going to use it, let's do it, right? So go up on discord.com, here it is, and sign up for a kind of a free account, if you will. Download the Windows application. It's also available for you if you're a Mac user, although I'm not recommending being a Mac user this semester, at least for the first half. I think Visual Studio is just a better tool to use instead of Xcode for C++, in my opinion. Right? Some people may differ there. So I'm just going to put this up on DC Connect. So I'm going to go here, and we're going to make a new section here called Useful Links or Resources. We'll call it Resources. And we'll do that every week together. And if you have other suggestions, guys, please, let's work together on that. And we can have, so this is Discord. Sign up. Okay. And we'll open up as an external resource, so that way you can get that resource. So that link is up there. So please, if you haven't had a chance to yet while we're talking, go sign up for Discord. I think it's a great way. And then what we'll do is, as soon as you do, I will send you guys, I'll post a link to the server. I haven't created a server yet, but I'll post a link to the server here, and just sign up and connect, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so Nick's got a question. Are we going to be stuck with the same partner if bad things happen? And I'm just paraphrasing, Nick. I'm sorry. Yeah, the answer is, here's the thing. I think Tom, in his wisdom, Tom McDonald, what he's has done is he's kind of made it so that for the first half you'll be stuck with the same partner. So from, let's say, week 2 on, you'll be stuck with the first partner for C++. And then for the second half, we'll sign up again for Java partners. So if you want to work with somebody else in the second half, you can. All right, so that's the way he's done it. And I think he's done it that way because I'm just trying to stay the same as some of the other sections in this course. It's not just me, but there's another, I think there's another section or 2 that are out there, or 3. So I want to make sure that we're kind of on the same page as everybody else. And I think for that, what I'd like to do is, keep the same thing. So the first half, you'll have one partner, and the second half, if you want, you can have the same partner or somebody else. Okay. And I know that teamwork in general is tough because sometimes people don't work together well, which is a challenge. And that's okay, right? I mean, I think that, part of working together in real life and a job is working in a team. And sometimes you may not like the team that you're working with, but you need to get the job done. So, so that's why I think group work is a good thing. On the downside, if you're stuck with somebody who doesn't like to work, we'll know, won't we? Because when you record your YouTube video, as an example, it'll be very clear who's done the work and who hasn't, especially if the same person talks every single time and discusses the code. So I would ask that you give yourself a chance to talk about the code. Each one of you should talk about it, kind of every other time. You guys can switch around or whatever, or you can figure out a way. By the way, the video instructions I gave you guys, and which I'm going to give you, which I've kind of listed here, it doesn't have to be in this order. You don't have to demonstrate your application's functionality first and then, talk about your code. You could do it the other way around. You can say, okay, here's my code, and now let's make it work. All right, and you can make this video as fun or as boring as you want. It's totally up to you. Okay, I'm not gonna, be draconic here and tell you how to do it or how to produce it. Some of you might be very good at making a video, and I don't want to cramp your style or take away from your artistic license, if you will. Okay, so that's really it on the course structure. So any questions around the course structure, any concerns? So again, what I want to do, so Fridays we won't have a formal meeting. Even though we have a slot on Fridays, we're supposed to meet in the afternoon. We're not going to formally meet on Fridays, okay? Fridays will be for us to get together in maybe small groups or throughout the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even Saturdays and Sundays, where I get together with you guys where you have a problem and I work it out. I'll be recording stuff. You can use Friday's session, that time slot, as a scheduled time to work with your partner, right? Kind of on Friday, where you can work with them and produce the video and all that kind of stuff. Remember that I want to try and make it so that when you're working together with your partner in a couple of hours or so, you should be able to finish off your assignment and get it done. Because again, if you think about hours for marks, and this is, when I was a student, I always thought about hours versus marks. How many hours am I going to spend? How many marks am I going to get? And if it's a lot of hours for a little bit of marks, this is where, I may not hand in that assignment, right? So, and it's a strategy that a lot of people use. So think about this now, right? If you have an in-class exercise that's worth 2%, and that we're going to be doing next Wednesday, as an example, And then you have an in-class or assignment that's going to be due on Friday, let's just say, right? And that's worth 6%. I mean, maximum, if it's worth 2 or 3 hours, let's say, to get this assignment with the video and all that kind of stuff, that would be around right. Anything beyond that, if it's like up to 6 hours of work, if it's something crazy like that, I figure that 1% for 1 hour, that is a lot of work. That means like you're working hard for that 6%, 6 hours for 6%, right? So, you know, I don't want to go that way. I'd rather have it a little less. I know a lot of people are going to go through it. You can take whatever time you need. Okay, I'm not going to limit you to 2 hours. Like, for example, I'm going to give you a 2-hour time slot together with your partner on Fridays to go through the video, to see what's required. Obviously, I'm going to post the video as soon as I have it, as soon as I create it. And because this, for me, this is a first run course, the videos probably won't be available until closer to Friday, you know, as an example. But when you get the video, you can watch the video. It won't be very long. And then you'll have all your video instructions on how to do the stuff. There might be also additional links that Tom has provided, Tom McDonald, that he's going to ask you to go through. And I agree. There's some really cool resources he's asked you to go through that might be part of your assignment requirements, right? So make sure you go through the requirements, check off each of the tasks, right? And once you've checked off each of the tasks, there are going to be some submission details. One of the submission details for the assignment is going to be most likely a zip archive of your project files, okay? Now, here's what I don't want. I don't want just the C++ files. I want the entire solution, okay? So that means you take your entire solution, you zip it up for me. Please, no RAR files. So no WinRAR or anything like that. WinRAR has plays a lot of difficulty with different systems. Sometimes my system will think it's a virus. I don't want that to happen. So please zip up your file. You can download a tool if you don't have it already called 7-Zip. Okay, so please download 7-Zip. So if you go to 7-Zip, it's free. There's nothing for you to do. Please do not use the built-in Windows compression algorithm. It's terrible. Okay, and it provides some issues for us. So please, here's the link for this. I'll put this up on DC Connect. So this is another resource that I'm going to put in here. Okay, so inside of our link, we're going to say this is a 7-Zip download. Okay, I'd like you to do that, please. And if you haven't had a chance to do that, please do that now. Go up and download 7-Zip as I'm speaking and install it. One great thing about 7-Zip is if you right-click inside of a File Explorer window, you can just zip it up and unzip it. It's really great and it's consistent. If you're using a Mac, there is no 7-Zip for Mac necessarily, but you could, I mean, Mac's extraction and compression algorithm isn't bad compared to Windows. So you don't have to download 7-Zip if you have a Mac, okay? All right, so that's 7-Zip. So you'll be asked for an assignment, which is going to be, or assignment portion, which is for submission, which is your solution. So that's your solution. The other thing is a GitHub link. And if you've never done, and Dominic's saying, so you only want us using 7-Zip on Windows. Yeah, I think so. If you're someone who's using a Mac or a Linux operating system, it's not as bad. All right, there's good compression, decompression stuff. But on Windows, their built-in File Explorer stuff causes really weird virus errors and all kinds of things. And it also confuses everybody because what happens is if you click on a zip archive with the Windows, it'll give you a preview and people will try and open it or do something with it. And then they're like, wait, I can't access this thing. It doesn't work. Yes, it does work. You're looking at the zip archive and you haven't unzipped it. Until you do that, it's not going to work. And that's part of the reason why I don't use it. Okay, so GitHub is another thing, and I'm not sure if you guys have signed up for GitHub. Let's get a show of check marks. Do you know what Git and GitHub is? Have you signed up for GitHub as an account? Hopefully you have at this point in your time at Durham. Let's do that. So again, you want to go to github.com. I'm going to have a link for this called Durham Programmer. Right, so Durham Programmer is, I put up my code for WebD 6201 when I taught that course a couple of semesters ago. So I'm going to use this GitHub account to basically share code with you, including anything we do today or other days. So that's where I'm going to put my code. When you make use of your assignments, you can use my code, your code, from assignments, from previous assignments that you've done. Please try not to use other people's code, like outside of your partnership is what I'm saying. Just use my code, or if you find something on Stack Overflow that you need to use, I'm okay with it, but you need to explain it. You need to understand how it should work, okay? So let me get into this for a second, Rose, and I'll come back to that, okay? So, so I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to put this up. So this is my, we'll say this is the GitHub account we're going to be using, or GitHub link, course link. All right, so you go up there and you put your stuff up on GitHub on your own. This is your own stuff, but my stuff will be listed here. So in the course link, when I say this course link, this is where I'm going to be sharing code with you. You can't put stuff up there because it's my account, but you can grab stuff from me, or any kind of examples I post will be there. Okay, so you can go in there and try it out or whatever. Okay, or if sometimes what happens is, guys, I'm a little fast. So I'll go through stuff, and when I'm explaining how to do stuff, you might say, "Whoa, Tom, slow down." You can certainly indicate that inside of the kind of the participants window by there's a little go slower tab as well. Right. Okay, so that is what's happening there. Now, Rose, you're asking which one should we download. What do you mean by which one should we download? 2020 or 2019? What are you talking about there? Can you explain? Yes, please don't use the Windows built-in tool. Use 7-zip, please. The Windows built-in tool is not good. Okay. Rose, you were asking about which one should we download? Two different ones. 7-zip. Hold on, let's go there. Oh, here you mean 2020 alpha? Don't use the alpha. You don't need to do this. Please download the 2019 or the 19 version. I recommend this one. Whenever I see alpha like this, I'm like, yeah, no. It's probably going to be okay, but I'm probably okay with using the 64-bit version 19 one. It's better. I mean, I know that there's not going to be a problem. Alphas, if this was a beta, maybe, but an alpha, no. I don't recommend it. Okay. All right, so we talked about some tools. We talked about GitHub. We talked about 7-zip, and those two things. You're going to give me your code archive in 7-zip format. You're going to give me your GitHub link, and we'll talk about how to do that and what GitHub is. Now, you should know what version control is, right? Again, show of check marks. You know what version control is. All right. Now, I think everyone should light up green. If you don't know what version control is, put an X, please. It's okay. Don't be embarrassed about it. I'd rather have that than me expecting that you know and then you don't know. All right, so I have a few people, it looks like, who don't know what version control is. And I'm going to do a bit of a version control thing right now. All right, and maybe I'll do a bit of a GitHub presentation where I put up a video on during the week. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for that. So there's quite a few people who don't know what it is. So I want you to think about what you're coding along, and I'm just going to bring up a tool that I like to use just for a whiteboard. And I want you to think about this. Now, bear with me. I'm not an artist, but so imagine this is your computer, right, as an example. And your computer, you have several pieces of code, a project, whatever. So these are the pieces of code you have in your computer, right? And then something happens, right, as an example, and you know what? Your computer burns. What happens to your code? It's gone. That's really bad, right? So, or let's suppose, here's another scenario. Instead of something drastic with like your computer burning, your computer doesn't burn, right? But what happens is it was just working. I don't know if you ever experienced this as a programmer, and now suddenly it doesn't work. That is bad, and you can't trace it. You don't know what the problem is. It's pretty complex, and you don't know what it was. That's the issue. Or here's something: you're collaborating with someone else, and you're trying to figure out a way of sharing your code. So what do you use? Google Drive, right? Or use Dropbox or some other thing like OneDrive or something else, and you have different versions of the code, and you have version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4, as an example, as you're building up new features. And then you're like, wait, was version 3 the one that had the feature with the user interface, or version 2? I can't remember, right? Because it's just, your versioning is out of crazy. These problems and all these other problems from a kind of plagued programmers for years until they start thinking about revision control. And this is not new. This has been around for many years, I would say. 30 plus years, in fact, in different forms. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a local repository. So when we create a local repository, I want you to think about it as it's only going to capture the stuff in your computer. This is still in your computer. So this is a local repository. That's what it's called. The local repo or repository is literally going to be something that your computer is going to, we're going to capture all the files and folders in your project in this local repo, right? So we're going to, in the command line, the commands would be something like this. First of all, you'd have to install Git. And by the way, when you've installed Visual Studio 2019, Git is also installed automatically, right? But you'd have to do commands like this in the command line, all right, or command prompt. Git init, that would be your initialization. That creates a hidden .git folder inside of your, in your project folder. And then git add dot. Git add dot says add everything to the, to the thing I want to capture. I want to make a new project, a new repository. So git init, what this does is it initializes your local repository. Okay, that's what it does. I'm going to put this up I'm going to store it here in a second. Git add dot, what this does, right, is it adds everything in your project, right, to the repo. It's kind of like a pre-stage. This is kind of like you're kind of formulating, what you want to add to your capture. Think about this. When I want to look at my code, I want to have several snapshots, I want to say, of my code, right? So my snapshots are going to be, okay, here's the code that I have right now. And for example, right now it's 11:11. Here's the code exactly at 11:11. I want to take a snapshot of my code. And then I can always go back to that snapshot or revert back to that snapshot if there's a problem. So that's what I'm going to be allowed to do here. So after I've captured my code, right, then I want to name the snapshot, which is called a commit. So git commit, and then usually we use the -m, and something like initial commit will be the first capture. All right, so that's the name of your snapshot, initial commit. You can name it anything you want, but typically the first one you do an initial commit or a first commit. That's the way we do it. Okay. In other snapshots, what you want to do is you want to put features. I added this class. I added this method or function. I added this property. I removed this error. I found a bug. That's what you do here with your commits. You keep on doing the same thing. Git add dot, git commit. Git add dot, git commit. And you keep on doing this cycle. But this is local to your repository, right? So this is the stuff that you would do locally. Let me just put this way down here like this and move it over here. So this is kind of stuff to make your repo. You do all these things, these commands, and you create your local repository, and you keep on going back between git add dot and git commit over and over again, right? And then after you do this, what you want is you want to put this somewhere else, because this is locked into your machine. If your machine burns still, or if you want to share it with somebody else, it's not going to work. This is just for you, right? So that's not good enough for us. What we want instead is to be able to connect with people online. So now let's see if I can draw a cloud. So there's an ugly cloud here. There we go. It's not a pretty cloud, but it's an ugly cloud, like almost like a kindergarten cloud that I made. Yay. And let's suppose this is called GitHub. GitHub is a cloud service. All right, that's what it is. It's software as a service. It's on the cloud, and it's separate from your machine. You have to sign up for GitHub. It's a, you go to github.com and you sign up for a free account. GitHub was originally owned by somebody else, and Microsoft bought it recently. Okay, so that's just to give you a little bit of a taste of what it is. And what you want to do is you want to basically, GitHub, it's not like Google Drive or OneDrive. It's not like you have direct file access to GitHub. Instead, what you do is you connect to GitHub with something called a remote. So here's your local repository. You create a connection with GitHub, and it's not always open. It only opens when you need it. This connection is called a remote. All right? And this remote is, again, what it is, this connection, right, is something that allows us to push or upload to GitHub and to pull from GitHub. So there's a two-way communication that we can spark off. So we can push, that's a command, right, that we can use. And pushing kind of has a upwards direction. So we're going to push in this direction. Let me see if I can get that arrow happening. We're going to push this way, right, towards GitHub, right? And then when we pull, that's the other connection. We can make another command. I'm going to put this on this side here, right? When we pull, we want to pull towards our local repository, right? So example, let's say you're working with somebody else, you want to be able to pull their work so that it kind of connects with yours, all right? So you push, which is an upload, and you pull, which is a download from GitHub, okay? You need the name of a remote, and the remote itself has information on your repository. Your repository is going to be a mirror almost of what you have on your local system. So you might have, for example, several different files, the same as what you have here on your GitHub repo, right? So it's just a mirror of what you have here in your local repository, right? So you push it up, and then let's say I make someone else connects to me. There's another user, and they push up another kind of file. Then I can pull that file down into my repository, and then suddenly it appears in my project. That's how GitHub works. Okay, and this is a very high level guys. So we'll go through creating a repo and stuff like that very soon. One resource that's great for GitHub, and I want to make sure that you guys have that, is if you go to git-scm.com, and this is for homework for you guys for this week. If you don't know GitHub, you can also download Git for your machine if you're a Windows user. If you're a Mac user or Linux, it's built in. You get nothing to do, right? Mac and Windows users have an advantage in that way. But here, if you want to make it work on the command line, like I'm showing you, the command line codes that I'm giving you, you need to download from git-scm.com. Git-scm.com also, I'm just going to put this up on DC Connect as another resource here. So let's create a link. And we'll say git-scm.com, which is a Git learning resource as well, right? It's not just a Git resource for us to use, but let me just do the other way around. How about that? Ha ha ha. I meant to put this there. And, cut. And I meant to do this there. There we go. So yeah, so that resource, please go there, because the great thing about git-scm.com, this link right here, is it has documentation on how to use Git, and it also has a free book, Pro Git, which is, it's pretty cool that you can go up online and look at a book or download a book that is complete, as well. So it talks about how to use Git, and you can do other more advanced things like merge, as well as revert, and do other things like that. So please go up here. The book is fully online that you can look at, and there's some great resources as well on LinkedIn Learning. So I'm going to give you a LinkedIn Learning resource as well, because I can't teach you how to use Git. Let's just go to Linda for a second. Actually, maybe I'll do LinkedIn Learning. If I go to LinkedIn, by the way, if you need to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's pretty cool. And let's say, for example, you want to look at LinkedIn Learning and you want to see Git and GitHub. There is a Git and GitHub course that I highly recommend. Ray Villalobos, he's a great author, I think, for Git and GitHub. I can't play his video here because it's, I'm on YouTube. But if you go here, this is a great little link. I highly recommend it. And you should have access, if you're a DC student, to LinkedIn resources. You should be able to do that for free. So I'm just going to add that as another resource. So we'll say LinkedIn Learning resource. So please go up there and grab this link if you need to have more information. It's not a long course, I think, and I think it's a great opportunity for you to learn how to use Git and GitHub. Let me just rename that. You know what I mean. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't know what I mean. I don't know. Let's see. Edit link. Yeah, we'll say GitHub, Git and GitHub. All right, there we go. So that's pretty clear. It's like a little video. All right, so please go there if you need more information. All right, so that is Git and GitHub, and so that is another thing that I'm going to ask you guys to do every time you hand in your assignment. You're going to hand in your assignment requirements. You're going to have a video. You're going to have a zip archive, and you're going to have a link to your GitHub repo. Why? Because guess what? Most developers nowadays, they use Git and GitHub to communicate. And a lot of times interviewers will look at your GitHub account and say, show me some of your code, as an example, right? And then when we see your code, I can take a look and see how you're doing, right? Like, what kind of code have you created? Even if it's an assignment for school, I think it's a great opportunity for me to look at your stuff, and without even knowing who you are. All right, so that I think is a really great thing for you guys to do. So please, if you don't have a GitHub account, please sign up today. That is kind of one of your pieces of homework. I'd like you to sign up today, because if you sign up today, then I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to do that next week with assignment number 1. Okay. Okay. Any questions about 7-zip, about Git and GitHub, or about your videos for your assignments? I wanted to go through all that with you today because I know some of it's going to be new for some of you, and I don't want you guys to be worried or whatever. And I'm going to go through how to do stuff very quickly today with Visual Studio and show you how to do stuff without doing command line stuff. Okay. If you have a question, again, hand up inside of your participants button there. You can put a hand up. If you don't have a question, I'm just going to wait for a second, then I'm going to continue. Putting questions in chat, sometimes I can see them, sometimes I can't, but putting up your hand might be just a little easier. If we don't have a partner, should we start a discussion, or will you pick for us? Yeah, I think starting a discussion will be really, really good. But let me get to that partner part. I'm going to stop recording for the partner piece, right? So that there's going to be a little bit of time at the end of today, so you guys can talk to each other, all right? So, but if I have to pick for you, I will. I prefer that you pick for yourself, because if you know somebody that you've worked with before, then pick that person, and you can sign up. Or if you really want to, if you're looking for a partner, then you have until next week, by the way. I'm not going to make it mandatory to do it today, but I'd like you to do it today. And what I might do is, when I put up the resource for our little Discord server, which I'll make an announcement for the Discord server, you can certainly go up there and say, hey guys, looking for a partner, as an example, can we sign up? And if I need to create more groups, I've only made 15 groups. If I need to make 16, 17, 18 groups or whatever, I'll do it. I'll make extra groups, if you need to. But I think 15 groups will probably suffice for our class. Okay. All right. So that is assignment requirements. Thank you for that. And we talked about the course structure. And now we're into some. We're going to skip this for a second. This partnering for labs thing. But I wanted to show you where it is. So if you go up on DC Connect, if you don't know already, and I believe if you go to Classroom and if you go to Groups, right under Classroom, you should have a link like this, and it might be somewhere else for you. You're going to see a bunch of groups, and I can see already that people have signed up. The people have partnered up. Group 1, Group 4, Group 6, Group 7. There's some people that have signed up. There's also some groups that are empty. Group 8, 9, 10, 11, they're empty. Group 13, 14, 15. One thing you can't do is you can't leave a group. So if you've signed up for the first time and you're part of a group, as an example, and you want to get out of that group, the only person that can do that for you is me, right? So please make sure that when you sign up for a group, if you haven't done it already, that you don't sign up randomly and join someone randomly that you don't know unless you get an invite. If you get an invite from someone saying, hey, can you join my group or whatever, and if you want to, then okay, but don't do it so it's like a random, I see a group that's empty or has one person, I'm going to join that group. I mean, you don't even know the person. You don't even know what they're going to do, and maybe they don't want to work with you. So try and at least pick someone that you know, okay? All right, so that's groups. We're going to get back to this in a second. But we're going to partner up for labs. Some people have already done it. If you have a chance now, please go and do that now, right? I'd like you to do that. If you haven't done that, or if you don't know anybody, wait. And then at the end of this little recording, I'll give you a chance to kind of connect and meet and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Next, let's launch Visual Studio. And I talked about Git and GitHub. I did that Git and GitHub overview. But let's launch Visual Studio and talk about some tools. All right. So I'm going to bring up Visual Studio 2019. You should do the same at this point. A bit of a code along. All right. And remember, whenever we're creating Visual Studio, I'm using Visual Studio 2019. I highly recommend it, that you also do the same. If I go to options, I can do things. I can create a new project. I can clone a repository, right? That's built in from GitHub or Azure DevOps. It tells you that. And there's another thing that says create new project. I want to go here, and please forgive me. I know you know how to code at this point, but I need to know that you know how to code my way. Right, so I'm going to click on this, and there's going to be different templates. Obviously, I'm going to choose C++ for a language, right? And I'm going to choose a console app for now, okay? There's other ways of doing this, and remember, whenever I choose a console app, there are going to be some problems with the console app, okay? We'll talk about that. You have to fix some stuff, right? Your properties in your project to do that. But let's just go there for the console app, and then press next. I'm going to name the console app. I'm going to call it, again, OOP3200 in the fall 2020 semester. When you make your labs, please call them something like this. Don't call it something like My Funky Lab Number 1 or something like that. Like, call it something so I know it's you. Followed by the name of this thing. This will be lesson 1 for me as an example. And I'll put this up on GitHub for you guys. So it tells me where I should put it. I'm going to specify a place to put this online. So I'm going to go to my desktop. Let me add a new folder on my desktop called OOP3200. And all my stuff is going to be there for me. You should be doing something similar for you. And I'm going to select that folder. So that is where my OOP3200 F2020 lesson 1 is going to appear. And I'm going to click create. Pretty simple. All right, it comes with some default requirements. As an example, which I don't like a lot of times. For example, it comes with, it says run this code and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're just going to get all this out of here. And I'm also going to take all this out of here, right? Because we have IO stream, you know, that happens up here. And let's suppose I want to do a hello world with you guys, because we're getting right into coding right now. This is called OOP3200 lesson 1.cpp, and I got main in here. Okay, right? So let's go over some requirements for this. If I was to run this code right now, what is it going to do? It's going to do this, right? Yay! Right, it's pretty good. And it's not going to flash. I've got a standard cout. Notice that I'm not including my standard library. I'm not using a using statement. When I code with you guys, I will not use a using statement. I'm not going to go using std. I'm not going to do that. You're going to see me code like this, okay? Some people will not code like this. They'll code, you may be used to someone putting a using statement up here, like this, using std, right? And I'm not a fan of this kind of thing, this structure. I'm not a fan of that at all. I'd rather do this. All right, because it's more cross-compatible than everything else. That's just me, okay? So also, what about if I wanted to change my file name from this, right? Notice that I don't have any other resources. Can I change my file name here from this? Let's say I want to change to main .cpp. Is it going to run still? Right? Is that okay? Like if I run this thing, is it still going to load? Is it going to be okay? Or are we going to break? Right? Well, the answer is it's going to be okay, right? So it's okay to change names. This is all normal stuff. A main CPP. Great. Let's put this main CPP in Hello World up on GitHub. Okay. This is the part that I wanted to show you. First of all, there's going to be another window down here called Team Explorer. So there's Solution Explorer and there's Team Explorer. Okay, if you don't have Team Explorer down here in Visual Studio, then what you want to do is you want to go to View and you want to go to Team Explorer. Okay, that's inside the View window. You can also do Control backslash and then followed by Control M, but I think just clicking on Team Explorer is easier. Right, so that's what Team Explorer is. You're going to click the Home button. Guys, don't worry if you can't follow along or if you're slower than me, because remember, I'm recording this class, right? I'm going to click the Home button. When I click the Home button, I'm going to go to Changes. And in Changes, you're going to see there's nothing. Why? I haven't put this up on source control yet. You can't go to GitHub immediately. In fact, the first thing to do is you're going to right-click on your solution, right? And you're going to select, you want to add your solution to source control. Okay, that's the first thing, right? So notice there's a bunch of options here, right? So you have, it says create Git repository, right? I want to be able to make my solution go to source control. The other way to do it is on the bottom right, there's something that says add solution to source control. If I do that and I select Git, all right, on the bottom, then it's like me, let me go back to my Solution Explorer. It's like me choosing initialize Git repository like you saw there. Okay, that's what you do. Okay, so that's the first thing you do. Next, once you have this as a repository, it's now a repository. I've already initialized Git here, right? Then what I can do is I can go to Team Explorer, I can go to Home, I can go to Changes, and if there's any changes, I would put them in here. This is where your commit message is going to go. We're going to use this in a second, okay? But there's no changes. I'm going to go back to Home, and then I'm going to go to Sync, okay? If I click Sync, you should see this. If you don't see this, that means that in your extensions for Visual Studio, if you go to Manage Extensions, you need to download an extension for Visual Studio, which is the GitHub extension. This is the one, GitHub extension for Visual Studio. If it doesn't appear here, you need to go online and you can search for it. You can just type in the keyword Git. And if you do that, it's going to bring up a bunch of different extensions, but this is the one that you want. It might look like this, download. When you click the download button here, it'll download the extension and you're going to have to restart Visual Studio in order for it to work. Okay? But for the most part, you should have this GitHub extension right in here. Before you publish to GitHub, though, you want to configure your Visual Studio for GitHub. And the way to do that is if you go to Home, again, I'm inside the Team Explorer window here, and I'm going to go to Settings. And inside of my global settings, I want to put in my name, the address that I'm using for GitHub. This is the address for GitHub. My repository location. I'm also going to select Enable Download of Author Images from third-party sources because I want to see the image of the person who I shared this with. You must do this or it's going to ask for it. Okay, so please do this for yourself. This email address is the email that you're using for your GitHub account. Please do that. Home. Back to Sync. Now that I've got that, if I click Publish to GitHub, it may ask you for the first time to log in. And if it does, it's going to say, okay, fine, it's on GitHub. Which account? For me, I have several. All right, so I'm going to use Durham Programmer, right? Because that's the one that I want to publish to. And you're going to see OOP3200 F2020 Lesson 1 on Durham Programmer's GitHub repo or GitHub account in a second. For you, you may only have your GitHub account name like this. That's my GitHub account name, my last name. Okay, not that exciting. If I click Publish, I don't want to make it private. Please do not make your repo private. Just publish, please. If I click Publish, then it's going to do its dance. It may ask you for the first time to log in with your credentials, your GitHub credentials, and then it's going to push your files, this little silly file, to GitHub. That's what it's going to do. Let's see this happen. It's going to take some time. Notice it's kind of doing its dance, right? If I go back up online now, And if I go to Durham Programmer and if I refresh, you can see now that I have OOP3200 F2020 Lesson 1 here. And if I click into there, you'll see that there's two things. You have a inner folder called the same name, and I have an inner file called main.cpp. That's it. It's that simple. And that's how I want you to, put things in every single time. You can use Visual Studio. You don't have to use command line. I think command line is a little bit more challenging for most of us. But again, if you're interested, please look at those LinkedIn resources. They can help you do command line instead of Visual Studio. The other way to do it is if you put it up on Visual Studio up here, you can also upload a zip archive. But I'm going to rank you on two things when you use GitHub. One, are you just using it as a backup? If you're going to just put GitHub your stuff on GitHub one time, that's not really using GitHub. That's like using GitHub as a backup. I'm just put my files up there. Hey, who cares, right? Using GitHub properly is what we're going to do now. Let's suppose I want to say I want to have some kind of comment. This is my hello world message, and maybe I want to have a function that does stuff, right? So let's say I want to have a function a named function, a static function that I want to use, right? So let's say up here, can I do it up here? Review, right? Can I do it up here? Can I make a static function that I want to call something? Like, let's say, for example, I want a static function called my function. Is that possible? It has to have a return type. So let's say my return type is void, right? Can I create a static function called my function that basically does something like this? Is that possible? And let's say the static function that I'm going to make right now, and I'm calling it static for a second, but do I need static? Can I just do this? Is that enough, right? And these are questions you should know, right? And let's say, for example, I want to say, welcome to the class. So see out as an example, and I want to say, something like welcome to the course. Again, this is a silly example, but I want to talk about this with you because this is what we're going to do. This is my function. I want to call my function after I do hello world. So I call my function, right? And this is kind of, maybe I want to rename this thing. So right click, right? And I want to refactor, rename. Hey, wait, how did I get this refactor, rename? Maybe you don't have the same option as me. I'll talk about that in a second. We're running out of time, but we'll do it. And I'll call this function my welcome function. So we'll call this welcome function. Why not? So my welcome function, there's my welcome function, and I save it, unless I'll try it. I know a silly example here, but here it is. You can see that hello world and then welcome to the course, right? Yay, it's really exciting. I want to put this up on GitHub now, this change. I want to go to my Team Explorer, right? I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to go to Changes. In Changes, it's going to show me that I've modified my main.cpp. And I'm going to enter a little change message. What did I do? Added welcome function. All right? I'm going to commit all here. After I've done this, I'm going to commit all. And it's going to take a snapshot of my code with that welcome function name. The name of the snapshot. Notice it says I made a commit with a funky number. Yay. Now I want to sync. I can click the sync button, or I can go to Home, Sync, and Push. And when I do that, it's going to push my new commit, this new snapshot that I just made, to GitHub. Done. If I go to GitHub now and refresh, right, you can see now that I have 3 commits. And look, it says added welcome function. That is the name of my snapshot that I changed, right? And if you go here and if you look up online, you'll see that little function I just made. Yay! Really exciting. I don't format my README right now. If I wanted to, then see, a README would mess things up. If you created your account first, your GitHub repo first, and then pulled from your README, that means that's okay. So for example, I would do this. I would go to my README. I would go to my account. So here's my repo up online. And if you say add a README here, if I do that here, I'm going to be out of sync with my Visual Studio project on my machine. I have to pull after that. So I'll show you what I mean. So I add a README, and I'll say something like demo project for lesson 1 OOP3200, right? And in the fall 2020 semester. Let's just say I did this, right? And then at the bottom, you can go commit new file. This is all up online on GitHub, by the way, right? And you can see a nice little README here. But guess what? Now, because I did this, I'm behind. I am behind my local repository. I can't even push to there ever again. Because guess what? I'm behind. I have to synchronize between what I have there and what I have here. One way to knowing if there's anything to synchronize, if you click the fetch button, that's another command. Fetch basically tells you, hey, guess what? There's an incoming commit called create README from Tom. All right? I haven't pulled it yet, but it's up online. Do you want to pull it? Yes, pull it. And when I pull it now, we're good. Guess what, though? In my Solution Explorer, it doesn't show up because it's inside of my solution, but not inside my project. In order for me to see it, I want to right-click on my solution, and I want to go to Open Folder in File Explorer here. And when I do that, it's going to take me to my folder, what looks like this. And now you can see the README file. There it is. But you won't be able to see that inside of your Visual Studio, right? That's why I don't do README in Visual Studio. I do it here. I do it on GitHub. So hopefully that answered your question. All right, so that is our little lesson on just how to use Git and GitHub. I know it's not exactly awesome or phenomenal in terms of use, but we're going to get into more of this as we go forward. I'm going to show you my coding style. One thing that I've also included up here on inside of your DC Connect. Let's go to our content again. Inside of our content, there is an area that says coding standards. And one of your homework, a piece of homework that I want you to do, I want you to do some reading this week, right? And you should know this coding standard stuff already, but take a look at the coding standards. So C++ coding standards is what I want you to look at right now. If you go there, it's going to pull up a little PDF, and these are kind of highlights of kind of the way you would do some coding when it comes to your identifiers. Identifiers would be your variable names, okay? Whether it's for class identifiers, function identifiers, as an example, parameter identifiers, all that kind of stuff. If it's a function or method, it says, hey, guess what, Tom? You made a mistake. You should have made it Pascal casing. So upper camel case, as an example, like this. That's what is required. And by the way, I'm sharing this with you from Tom's style guide. So, we're going to be doing things the same way. So this is the way we'd want you to do it. So please read this document. It's not that long, and it talks about C++ coding standards for OOP3200 and OOP3200 that I'll be looking at when I look at your code. Okay, so please take a look at that. So that means that in my Visual Studio application, what I should have done, instead of calling it welcome function, I'm going to right-click here and refactor, rename to the proper name, which should be welcome function, right? Because that is adheres to my coding standards. So next, right? And now guess what? I have another commit I can make. I can go to my Team Explorer. Let's do it faster this time. And I'll go to Home, Changes, and I'll say updated name of welcome function to adhere to style guide. Right? That's my commit. I'm telling you what I'm doing. Commit all, save, and then home, and then sync and push. Right? And then we're done. We've kind of got that done a couple ways. I know we're timing out here, guys, so I want to talk about other things, but that is the way that I'm going to be kind of working with you guys. You're going to see this happen all the time, and we're going to adhere to these kind of things. Now, how did I do that? How did I get my refactoring and stuff? I'm using an extension called ReSharper, and if you don't have this extension, you can get it free as a student. And if you go to JetBrains, let's go to JetBrains for a second. So JetBrains is an outfit that develops software and tools, and they have a great tool that is ReSharper Ultimate. So if you go to Tools, they have something called ReSharper C++. ReSharper C++ is a paid for extension, but you can get it as a student, right? So I'm going to put this in there. If you actually look up ReSharper or JetBrains Education, you can download this and sign up as a student, and you can use ReSharper C++. It'll make your life a whole lot easier if you do. It adds things like refactoring and a bunch of other stuff that Visual Studio doesn't come with. So let me put this link inside of our resources here. So I'm going to go to content, and I'm going to go to resources, and I'm going to add that in as another link. Right, so that's ReSharper C++. And I'll say sign up as a student. You can look that up. It's not that difficult to do. All right. All right, questions around the stuff that we've talked about so far. I know it's just a little bit of a few things. I've given you some resources to look at as we start off our course. There's so much to learn, and there's a lot to do. I think we have quite a bit of stuff to do together. So I'm going to stop recording now, and I'm going to for the last few minutes, I'll be available until after 12. But for the last few minutes, I'd like to help you guys with groups, and I'll set up our Discord server. But first, I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm going to take a 5-minute break and come back, okay? I know you guys are timing out. If you have something else to do, I'm going to set up a Discord server, and I'm going to post it here as an announcement, okay? So I'm just going to stop recording now.